All right, welcome to AI analytics that won't get your CIO in trouble with good data. We're really excited to have you here viewing what is a major launch for us, the result of a huge amount of work that we've done on the engineering team to bring you an AI that will not get your CIO in trouble. And we're here to talk about what that means, how we did it, and how you can utilize it going forward. So, I am Ryan Dolley, VP of Product Strategy. I'm joined by our AI guru and field CTO, Jan Soubusta. Jan, why don't you go ahead and say hello?
Yeah. Hi, Ryan. I'm glad to be here. Currently, I'm field CTO, but yes, like the last 1 or 2 years, I was focused mainly on AI and how to make basically good data AI assisted, let's call it.
Excellent. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to focus a lot on making AI reliable and how good data can help you on that journey to make sure that you can trust the outputs of your AI. Then we're going to talk about embedding AI where work happens. This is really important. The ability to take the AI capabilities of good data out of the good data interface and put them where your users or customers actually need them. And then finally, we'll talk about the future of AI, agentic AI, model context protocol, these sorts of things, buzzwords that I'm sure you've heard. We'll put them in context in the data world and talk to you about how good data is at the forefront of these sorts of advancements and wrap up with, okay, why now? Why are we doing all this now? So with that said, why don't we go ahead and just kick things off with a demo of what we're launching today in Good Data AI so that you can get a feel for the feature set that you have available right now before we get into what it is we're going to have moving forward.
Thanks, Ryan, for the introduction. Now let me share my screen and demonstrate you our chatbot. So what you can see here is our standard dashboarding application. And we added a new icon to the top bar for the AI assistant, as well as we added it to all other UI applications. So let me open it. I already prepared a couple of questions, so we can go faster through the demo. The chatbot is especially focused on business end users. And what's more important for such a non-technical people than to provide them appropriate onboarding experience. So they can ask questions like, what can you do for me? Or tell me more about how I can filter data. And the chatbot from an internal knowledge base can answer all these questions. So they can ask, for example, they can learn about how to search in the workspace, in the existing solution, for what they can measure, but also for existing visualizations or dashboards. They can also provide feedback, by the way, here with thumbs up and thumbs down. So here we can see that we can measure net sales, for example. So let's try it. So what are net sales for this year? Could be a valid business question. You can see that we first identify the use case, searching or create new visualization to focus the chatbot on the right use case and be as accurate as possible. The chatbot explains the results here, what exactly was measured, and it provides the result itself. It also identifies automatically the type of the visualization, and because we measure just one metric here, so it's headline. It also provides suggestions here, what to do next. Yeah. So for instance, we can break it down by quarter. And it actually doesn't create new visualization, but it extends already created visualization. So the chat history is always reflected, and the chatbot identifies the use case correctly if like new visualization is requested or already created should be extended. you can also change type of the visualization, and so on and so on. Okay, so but what happens when I ask to replace quarter with elephant size? So like elephant size obviously doesn't exist in this workspace. So what actually happens is that we identify that there is no similar, we use a similarity search. So there is no similar object in the workspace. So we don't include it to prompt for LLM, and LLM identifies correctly that actually this request is invalid. And it explains it to the business user why it's invalid. We can do that also for existing objects, which actually are not compatible, meaning there is no relationship in the semantic layer between metric and an attribute, for example. And we again explain it in a business with a business language. Okay, but the chatbot is not isolated from the rest of the ecosystem. So you can save the visualization, and then you can work with that for example, here in our analytical designer, which provides drag and drop experience for creation of new visualizations. So here you can see the new visualization we created in the chatbot. You can open it. It's completely valid. It works. And you can extend it with the traditional business intelligence tool. Yeah, so you can, for example, change the type of the visualization, or you can slice it by or stack it by product category. And then you can save it or save it as new visualization. Okay, so that's all from my side.
So obviously, a lot of really powerful features in the GoodData AI itself, but beyond the features, what's important to understand is the rock solid foundation for this AI and how reliable it is and trustable it is. So why don't you walk us through what we did at GoodData to give you an AI that you can actually trust?
Yeah, well, it was a long and very challenging journey, actually. To be honest, I wasn't thinking that it actually will be that challenging. But as you can imagine, AI space is very new. Everything is changing like every 2 weeks. And so it was challenging for us. Like we actually, first of all, we decided to do some like research regarding if we can buy something, and we could quickly realize that actually just because everything is new, actually no one is ready to provide us reliable services. For example, for our retrieval augmented generation architecture. So we quickly realized that we have to build it by ourselves. Yeah. And so in the beginning, we had a prototype of AI-assisted business intelligence. It was only in the UI. It was very custom, very proprietary. It wasn't reliable. And of course, we couldn't expose it via APIs to our embedded embedded feature set and to anybody else. Yeah. So what we had to build, so we had to move everything to the backend and make it reliable, which basically means, well, actually, let's start with our semantic layer here, yeah? Because what makes our AI assisted experience really powerful is our semantic layer. And that's actually, it's perceived in our industry as a big advantage and basically must have now. So having everything described in the business language, having like all the business relationships between complex entities in the business model is the key for the success. And so what we had to do actually first was to pick only the relevant part of the semantic layer
which basically relates to the user question. That was the key, because like there are many demos like publicly available, and usually there is just like one CSV file under the hood. Yeah. That's easy. Yeah. But we actually have customers with hundreds or even thousands of tables or logical data sets with many complex relationships. And in that case, if you would pick the whole semantic layer and give it as a context to LLM, it wouldn't work. Yeah, it would be expensive, it would be slow, and you could even hit the window limit in the LLM provider. Yeah. So that was the first most challenging part, to have a reliable and highly available retrieval augmented generation architecture, being able to do semantic or similarity search on top of the semantic layer and pick only the relevant part so LLM can provide reliable results. Yeah. And everything this actually must be highly available as well. Yeah, so we are talking about distributed vector databases, for example. Yeah, so everything this was very new for us. Many new technologies we had to adopt. So that was something. Yeah. And then we quickly realized that actually the responses from LLMs are still not good enough. Yeah. So we had to apply something what is again quite new now, and that's something what is called LLM as a judge approach. So basically, we are testing the quality of the responses coming from LLM. We have automated jobs which are testing it with real life use cases, real life business models. And we are continuously monitoring the quality of the responses. People are alerted and so on. So that was another very important piece in the puzzle, which actually finally allows us to announce general availability.
And I think you bring up a really good point, which is that, look, everybody has some kind of chatbot, whether it's a BI, you're talking about BI or data catalogs, or I mean, everybody in data has developed some kind of chatbot at this point. But one of the things that we really did was we built on top of our existing semantic layer and metadata models to power our chatbot. And that gives our chatbot a really wide scope. If you look at many other chatbots, they operate in the context of, say, one dashboard or on a single table. And the assumption is you're going to do all this modeling to get just the right data in just the right shape so that the chatbot can actually be usable. And that's not what GoodData AI does. We did the hard work to make it so that if you have a very large and complex model, the AI can operate on that entire model and not just one little slice of it. And I think there's two. Like we had this powerful semantic layer in place, which was really great. Like that's the foundation of our tool. We've always had it, and that gave us a huge head start. The work you and the team have done building out the AI infrastructure has been really remarkable. And I think kind of the other piece from my perspective, and I'd like to get your feedback on it, is that we're not actually relying on the LLM to generate the SQL. We have an existing query engine that can generate the SQL in a deterministic way so that you get much greater consistency in the response from GoodData AI than if we were actually asking the AI to write code. Anytime you're asking the AI to write the code, it's very good at writing code, but is it good at writing code consistently over time and high quality code that you can rely on every time? We're not there yet. And so can you talk a little bit about that, just kind of how we combine this world of LLMs with a more trusted, deterministic query logic under the scene?
Yeah, I have to admit we cheat here. So we have this powerful semantic layer. A part of this semantic layer is actually our own metric language, which is called Mako. And you can actually define extremely complex metrics with this language. And then you can obviously define a business title and description, which is actually understandable to your business people. You can describe your own vocabulary and so on.
So when business person asks with the business language, like for something to be measured, yeah, and broken down by something and so on, or filtered somehow, we understand that because it's described in this layer. And then, like under the hood, actually, there can be like 20 pages long SQL query, yeah, but it's not generated in the runtime by LLM because it wouldn't be reliable enough. It would be very expensive. It would be very slow. Yeah. So that's why we first like suggest to build the semantic layer with these powerful metrics and with all these relationships. So then when business users ask business questions, which can actually be formulated very, very differently than when you ask like for some SQL, so we don't need to do this very complex translation from business language directly to SQL programming language, but instead we just search for these metrics already prepared by experienced like analytics people. We can also find the dimensions and the filters, and everything. This is still quite like semantic description of the report. Let's call it report or insight or visualization. And it's very far from actually raw SQL, where there can be like many like nitpicking things, yeah, which can be broken very easily. And when you ask LLM once and then second time, you can find out that the second SQL is slightly different and the result is different. Everything this is actually polished in our semantic layer, and then business people can be much like safer, and the outputs are much more reliable.
And that's really the upshot, right? The reliability of what we've built.
Yeah.
We have done the hard
And
engineering work to make it reliable.
exactly, and that is actually one very important thing worth mentioning here, and that's we not only like simplify the way from business language to like insight, but we also can validate um, like that everything what is requested by business people can actually be calculated and the result is meaningful. Yeah? And that's actually the power of our internal engine, which can translate these metrics into SQL, because we can validate actually like relationships between all objects which are mentioned by the business people. And actually, very often it can happen that they are asking for something what would actually require to calculate duplicates, for example. Yeah. And we can detect such situations. And instead of providing like meaningless number, we explain to the business user that this combination is not valid because there is no relationship, like quality relationship, yeah, because the direction of the relationship matters as well. So we can explain it again with business language, not with some like internal error. So users are like more guided directly to the result.
It is funny, AI in a lot of ways is really eager to please. So if you ask it to do something that doesn't make any sense, it's really happy to go ahead and do it. And so that's why we have these guardrails in place, like you describe, to say, hey, here's the valid model, and if you're doing something outside the valid model, we intervene and say, hey, this actually can't be done because you would get a wrong answer. And that's where this kind of cheeky comment about, we won't get your CIO in trouble comes from, is that you can really trust these results because of the work that Jacek and the team have done. Now, I think yes, it's trusted. That's very important. But I'd also like to talk a little bit about the experience itself and how we've gone the extra mile in making sure that you can take these AI features and actually use them where people do work. And what I mean by that is that many BI tools have some degree of AI features, and those features are typically locked in the BI interface. And what that means is that only people who know about the BI tool and are comfortable going into the BI tool and using the BI tool will ever have access to that AI assistant and that AI guided data experience. That's not the case in GoodData. So we're best known as an embedded analytics tool, and it's no different with GoodData AI. It's an embedded analytics AI. Can you talk a little bit about what sort of embedding features we have and how truly powerful it is in the context of GoodData?
Yeah. So long story short, we can embed like any layer. Yeah. So obviously the easiest way, and that's actually accessible even from our UI applications, is you can just click a button and you will get iframe code you can embed into your page, and you have our UI application fully embedded, even with like edit mode. Yeah? So you can actually edit dashboard, which is embedded in an iframe in your custom application. You can obviously override like color palettes and all this stuff. That's everything. This is easy. Yeah. But then the like prosumer experience, the thing that you can actually create your own visualizations, yeah, or even metrics, yeah. That's another layer you can actually embed again one-to-one, and you can again like change color palettes and all this stuff. And then if this is still not enough, and you have developers, you are basically a large company, enterprise company, you have many developers who are actually building custom UI applications for your business cases, and you need to embed some like data related use cases into your applications, then we provide SDKs for these developers of our customers. Yeah. So currently we provide two SDKs, TypeScript or JavaScript SDK, and then Python SDK, because obviously Python is most popular language in the data industry, right? And in data science especially. So these SDKs are available, and actually we guarantee that all functionalities are exposed into these SDKs, because these SDKs are also used by our UI applications, right? And this new AI feature set was exposed into these SDKs as usual. Yeah, so you can embed only the chatbot interface, nothing else, no dashboards, nothing else, just the chatbot window. And again, you can override styling and all this stuff. Yeah, that's possible. But there are even lower level functions in this SDK. Yeah, so you can, for example, use your own chatbot you already created for your call center application, for example. And you can just call our APIs or some lower level functions from our TypeScript SDK and embed data related capabilities into your chatbot, which is actually provides other features which relate to your business industry. Yeah, so users can access multiple functionalities from multiple providers. Yeah. So that's also, and every time you can call directly our APIs. We follow open API specification, and that's actually why we can also generate clients for other languages that only for Python and TypeScript. So we are very open here.
I think you hit on a major advantage to using GoodData AI, and that is what we see in our customer base is that oftentimes they don't want 8 chat experiences, each tailored to a particular thing that you want to do. Here's the chatbot you use for HR related tasks. Here's this other chatbot you use for customer relation related tasks. And here's a third chatbot for data. They want to bring all of those functions together into one place, where if you ask a data related question, you can access the analytics features of our analytics AI in the same place you would ask an HR related question or a customer service related question. It's all in a unified chat experience. And we've really gone the extra mile to make sure that those APIs are available for you to do that, so that whatever sort of AI you're trying to build, whatever sort of front end you need, if it involves these AI analytics features where people can find data, explore data, visualize data, all of that can be brought into that front end experience. And we're going to take a second here to actually show you an example of GoodData AI running in a custom application. Here you can see an example of GoodData's AI embedded in a custom application alongside our dashboard features, where you can explore metrics, visualize things, all of this custom skinned with your custom colors in your application, and respecting your security and your infrastructure. So you have single sign-on and total integration with your custom app. So we've talked about the fundamental infrastructure that makes this AI trustable and scalable. And now we've taken a look at the embedding capabilities that allow you to move these features out of the BI interface and into the places where your users and customers do real work. And that is a very powerful feature set for today. But we want to wrap up this presentation talking about what's coming. You hear these buzzwords like agentic AI and MCP, or model context protocol. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the cutting edge looks like right now and how GoodData is rapidly advancing into that cutting edge?
Yeah, so like there is actually a huge buzz around it. Like everyone is talking about agentic systems. Everyone is talking about MCP protocols and other tools. But what matters actually here is like a new level of automation. Yeah, let's call it like that. So there is a huge opportunity when you need to automate something, and the automation actually depends on the data. Yeah. So the automation itself can be now defined with, it can be AI assisted. Yeah. It can even be completely automated by some agents, which are even like validating each other and so on. But once you need to involve data into these automated decisions, yeah, so you basically need the capabilities of business intelligence platforms, but they need to be embedded into these new automations, into these new agentic systems. Yeah. And luckily, the company, which is very well known now, it's Anthropic. Yeah. So they proposed a new standard for these agentic systems. It's called MCP. It's Model Context Protocol, acronym for Model Context Protocol. And it's basically just like, well, we are in the data industry. Yeah? So just like there is, for example, Apache Parquet as a standard, open standard for how to store data to be analyzed. Yeah? Just like there is Apache Arrow, which we actually also use for in-memory data representation and very like low latency analytics. So there is this MCP protocol for the communication between agents. Yeah. So what we plan to do is actually, instead of exposing REST APIs and force our customers to incorporate them into these agentic systems in some proprietary way. So we plan to expose via this MCP protocol, we plan to expose all our capabilities. So these agentic systems can connect like by default to our endpoints, and they can consume all our capabilities automatically without any development, without any custom implementation. Yeah. So we already created some prototype. We will show it in the end. It's actually like quite easy for us to do it because we have all these like open API specifications and all these standards and SDK. So it will be actually very easy for us to do it. And yeah, there are more and more companies who actually are building these agentic systems for various business cases, like for logistics and for call centers and others. So we expect very high demand coming from our prospects and customers. And we are actually ready to implement real business solutions together with them. Yeah, we have people in professional services who are very skilled in this area. We do the knowledge transfer inside the company very intensively. So we are like ready, more than ready to support our customers in this area.
And I think it's really important too to consider how in this agentic world with all these data-driven automations, that data technology that you're relying on to help drive those automations needs to have the sort of strong semantic underpinning that good data has. You're not going to, because these agents are going to be creating, the barrier to creating automations based on data is going to be lower and lower and lower. And if you have a system that you can't trust at the heart of that, what you're going to be doing is just rapidly increasing your end user's ability to generate junk, which is what you don't want. To kind of show you how easy this has been because of our strong technological underpinning, we have an example of GoodData running our GoodData MCP server beta, which is in closed beta right now, that we'd like to share with you.
So what we can see here is actually an application built by my colleague Andy. It's a custom chat window, but under the hood, they are actually exposed via MCP several capabilities of GoodData. One capability is search. So basically, I can search in the existing content with a business question, and it can find some relevant, already prepared insights, and I can pick one, and I can actually ask for an export. So it's exported into PDF or PNG or whatever, and then actually we can mix it with another feature set which can explain the visualization. LLM can explain actually the content of the visualization with the text, so business persona can understand what actually is there. And finally, we are moving back to GoodData, and we are scheduling this exact export to Monday, every Monday at 9 a.m. And in a second, we should actually see a mailbox of Andy with the export in PDF. Yeah. So what we saw here is actually a mix of functionalities coming from different providers, GoodData included. And because everything is exposed via MCP, so actually the implementation of this agentic system it took like 2 hours to Andy to do it. Yes, he is very experienced developer, but on the other hand, I think it's amazing that you can build something that complex, including multiple different providers so fast.
Awesome. Thanks, Jacek, for walking us through GoodData's MCP server. Now, that MCP server is in private beta right now, and we'll be making it available soon for testing with our existing customers. So if you're interested in working with us on that, let us know. But the important thing to understand, I think, is that no matter where you're consuming GoodData's AI capabilities, whether it's in GoodData itself, whether it's embedded in your application, or integrated with your application via API, or even integrated into your own agentic AI systems via MCP, you have the same rock-solid foundation of features and trusted data that you can rely on. And that is the most important thing now and taking us into the future that will help you be successful with AI, is that you have an AI that you can trust that will not get your CIO in trouble. And I think that's a good place for us to wrap it up today. So Jacek, where can people go to learn more about the work that we're doing on the forefront of AI?
Well, I am a developer, so my first obvious answer is our documentation.
that is spoken like a true developer.
Which is actually very good. Thanks for that to our documentation team. But actually, the documentation is nothing else than another resource for AI, right? So,
right.
Yeah, we actually, when we are talking about MCP server in the context of GoodData, we are not talking only about to expose our capabilities like report execution and all this stuff, but we are also thinking about to expose our knowledge base in general via MCP. or we are a chatbot. Yeah. So we are experimenting with the chatbot in our web page as well. Am I correct, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
So sooner or later, we will expose our documentation via a chatbot. So I would recommend to use it to learn about good data, more about the good data. Actually, the chatbot I presented in the beginning, we plan to expose the documentation even there. Yeah. So when the business person is not sure what exactly he can do or she can do, there is no easier way than to ask the chatbot, and he can teach you and assist you in any case, basically. Yeah. So like learn with AI is the obvious answer today, I would say.
Yeah, we have a lot of great materials on our developers, including you, post awesome stuff on Medium. So follow the Good Data developers on Medium if you want to learn more. And of course, if you want to try any of these AI features yourself, we're here to reach out to us, and whether it's the chatbot, our BI AI integrations, the developer tooling, or even the MCP server, reach out to us, and we will work with you to make sure that your data-driven AI projects are successful. So we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in and watching this webinar, and check us out on gooddata.com. And until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye.